Hi, Douglas Simonson here, coming to you from Mexico with a painting demonstration. Most of the time when I go into my studio to paint, I cut out a piece of canvas and tack it up on my easel and do a full-on painting. This is a major process and requires some commitment and 2 or 3 days of work. The other thing I do is get out my pencils and paper and sit down and do some rough sketches. This is much easier, just takes a few minutes. But there's another option, acrylic sketches. For this, I usually just tear a sheet off of my tablet of Fabriano watercolor paper, because that's a paper that's heavy enough to handle acrylics, and sketch the image in pencil and then just paint it on paper. I like this because I can do it in an hour, maybe 2 at the most, and that's what I'm going to do today. And this is the photo that I'm going to be working from. And here is the same image after I tweaked it in Photoshop. And if you want all the dirt on how I do that in Photoshop, there is a video on this channel called Using Photoshop to Make Photos Easier to Paint From. So check it out. Anyway, keep watching and you'll see what a difference it makes to have this tweaked photo reference. As usual, I start by roughing out the big shapes in pencil. Once I've got those where I want them, then I start mixing the colors and start painting. In this case, I'm starting with a bright blue background. I didn't want to paint all that background, and also I wanted a more graphic look for this image, so putting a single color behind the figure does that. Sometimes you want some background detail to give more life and context to the figure, but in this case, I decided it doesn't need it. I want you to notice that I'm alternating between showing you the original source photo and the tweaked version so that you know that I'm referring to both of them all the time as I'm painting. You can see here what a help it is to have this simplified tweaked image to work from. Tweaking the image the way I do lessens the number of colors and removes a lot of detail. Plus it also defines more clearly the areas of light and dark. So this all just makes it easier to paint from. And that's really handy when you're doing a quick acrylic sketch like this and you don't want to get into a lot of detail. Something I want to point out about the colors I'm using on the body. You've noticed that I'm using mostly orange tones for most of the body, but when I get to the butt cheeks, which are not as tan as the rest of the body, I'm not just mixing a lighter tone of orange, I'm mixing another light pink color using a cool red, in this case alizarin crimson and maybe a little bit of magenta. These are cool reds, so the pink that I'm mixing for the butt cheeks is actually a cooler color than the oranges of the rest of the body. These acrylic sketches on paper are really quick to do, but I learn as much with one of them as I do with a full-on painting. It's terrific practice and not nearly as intimidating as a big painting on canvas. It's also nice to be able to offer my collectors a small, easy-to-frame, affordable painting for a much lower price than you'd expect to pay for an original painting. Swimsuit is nearly as important as the figure because it adds so much interest. It's one of those very specific details that adds context to the moment and gives the painting more presence and personality. And it's exactly the same with the soap suds that I'm adding here. With the swimsuit and the soap suds, we know that he's been swimming and now he's showering after. So we have not just a beautiful nude, we also have a story. And here's the finished painting. I call it Soapy Cheeks. This one sold about an hour after I put it up on my online gallery. These acrylic sketches tend to go fast. If you want to see more of my acrylic sketches, go to my website at douglassimonson.com. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this painting come together and maybe picked up some tips. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That inspires me to do more videos. And if you got a little inspired watching me paint today, great! Put on your painting pants or whatever and go paint!